Hello everyone, and welcome back to another average review. And today, we're going to be taking a look at a figure that I've been wanting to get for a couple months now. The Mcfarlane DC Multiverse Collector Edition Hawkgirl. So, taking a look at the packaging, it's a pretty standard Mcfarlane Collector Edition affair. It's a bigger version of the DC Multiverse box with this silver foiling and this Collector Edition text right here. On the side, we can see that this is Hawkgirl from the Justice League of America, and it's number 36 in the Collector Edition series. And on the back, we have some pretty cool artwork of Hawkgirl from the cover of Justice League of America number 5. So yeah, the Collector Edition boxes are, as usual, pretty nice. But hey, the packaging ain't the thing I'm interested in. What I'm interested in is the figure being held by that packaging. So let's get Hawkgirl out of the box. Alright, now getting this Hawkgirl out of the box, and she's a really good representation of the more modern Hawkgirl design. Now, I should probably say modern with quotation marks around it, since this is a design from a comic series that started in 2006, which next year will be 2 decades old, so not that modern. Point is, this Hawkgirl is a really good representation of the design featured in the 2006 Justice League of America comic series. I'm pretty sure she features a fair bit of reuse from the Collector Edition Wonder Woman, but I might be wrong since I don't own that figure and can't really compare it. But point is, this looks really good. Looking at the boots, and there's a lot of texture on the red bits, which is pretty cool. Looking at her belt, and that's also very nicely done. Especially this little hawk logo on her belt buckle. That is really cleanly painted and it looks really good. Although I do kind of question, why does she have pouches? I'm not too familiar with the Hawkman and Hawkgirl comics, so is there anything she'd actually store in the pouches? Because I can't think of anything other than, like, I don't know, maybe birdseed. Looking at the gauntlets on her arms, those are really good looking. They have all these studs on them, which does match her mace, which we'll get to later. And looking up here at her chest piece, and it's pretty nicely done, you know, the vibrant greens and yellows. The green bits have ribbing on them, which is pretty dang accurate to the art from the Justice League comic series. What's less accurate is this line right here, which is meant to be the more classic style Hawkgirl shirt, which is only there for the Platinum Edition, which, yeah, is in the more classic Hawkgirl colors. It doesn't ruin the figure, but it's a bit annoying that no matter which version you get, there's always going to be a bit of an inaccuracy. With the classic version, there's all these studs and rivets on the side, and with the more modern common version, you have this little line right here, which is ever so slightly distracting. I say slightly because, I mean, from a distance, you'll barely even notice it. Now, what you will notice from a distance is these amazing wings. I mean, they are so well sculpted, and there's a bunch of dry brushing all over them to bring a bunch of the details in these just really well done feathery wings out. It looks amazing. Speaking of amazing, the head sculpt is pretty dang well done. I mean, that's Hawkgirl's helmet if I've ever seen it. I like the brighter bit up here on top of the head, along with the more golden, shiny eye lenses. Those look pretty dang cool. Overall, this is probably one of the best sculpted and painted Hawkgirl figures I've ever seen, which, granted, there isn't much competition, but still, it's really good looking. But the real question is, Is this figure's articulation as impressive as its sculpting and paintwork? Well, let's have a look. Now, Hawkgirl has the standard Mcfarlane-style dumbbell joint. She looks up really far, which is great for a flying character, although it does kind of highlight how weird her neck looks. She looks down a really good amount too, gets an amazing range of tilt side to side, and can spin around, all thanks to the fact that, unlike some other Hawkgirl designs, this one doesn't have hair sticking out of the back of her helmet. She has the standard Mcfarlane rotator cuffs, which get a really good amount of wobble, along with shoulders that can spin around and hinge way above 90 degrees, which is really, really nice to see. She's got the Mcfarlane bicep swivel, which gives you some turning there, along with double jointed elbows with a near perfect bend, which is really nice to see. She's also got the Mcfarlane style wrists that can hinge in any direction and spin around. In terms of torso articulation, she's got a standard diaphragm joint and ball joint waist. She doesn't really get any hunch forward, unfortunately, but she actually gets a really good amount of arch back. She, of course, has tilt side to side and can spin around at both the diaphragm and at the waist. But we can't talk about this Hawkgirl's torso articulation without mentioning these wings. They can hinge back and forth and spin around at both, well, at just the base of the wings, actually. But that's not all, since her wings can actually fold outward for a pretty wide wingspan, which is really, really cool looking. Moving past the wings, though, and she's got the standard Mcfarlane-style hips, which can kick about 90 degrees, which is really nice to see. She also gets a pretty much perfect split and a bit of rotation at the thigh. She's got double jointed knees with a near perfect bend, along with the Mcfarlane-style ankles that can spin around, hinge forward and back, and, well, they do pivot side to side, but they're kind of fighting against me right now, so I won't push my luck. Of course, though, Hawkgirl has the Mcfarlane-style toe articulation. So, minus the hunch forward, this is one of the most impressive ranges I've seen on a Mcfarlane figure just ever, which is super nice to see. Moving on to the figure comparisons, we of course have to start out with the standard male and female comparisons for this channel. The Marvel Legends are New Year Bows, Spider-Man, and Spinneret. Moving on to some DC comparisons, though, and I'm going to be comparing Hawkgirl mainly with Justice League and more Justice Society-focused DC heroes. Starting off with Batman in both No Man's Land and First Appearance forms. For Superman, we have Strange Lives and Fleischer Studios versions of the Man of Tomorrow. Although, to finish off the DC Trinity, we have the DC Direct Page Puncher's Golden Age Wonder Woman. And looking at these two side by side, I'm realizing that they have near identical legs and arms, so I guess the Golden Age Wonder Woman actually featured a fair bit of reuse from the Collector Edition Wonder Woman, which does make a whole lot of sense. For some speedsters, though, we have the Flash in both Barry Allen, or Wally West, depending on who you ask for this figure, and Jay Garrick flavors. Although, since they match Hawkgirl, here's Green Lantern's John Stewart and Alan Scott. Although, to finish off the Justice League, the animated series, and Unlimited main team, we have the Mattel DC Universe Classics Martian Manhunter, and also the McFarlane Endless Winter Aquaman, since he appeared a fair bit of times on the animated series and Unlimited. Although for some reserve members from that show, we have Red Tornado and Fire, along with Firestorm, even though I'm pretty sure he didn't actually appear in the show. I could be wrong, though. And the DC Digital Dr. Fate. Dr. Fate leads us pretty nicely into some more members from the Justice Society, starting off with the Target exclusive figures of Hourman and Wildcat. Although both of these guys actually did appear in Justice League Unlimited. Wildcat actually got his own episode focused on him, and that one's one of my favorites from the show. Although for two Justice Society members that haven't gotten the Mcfarlane treatment yet, we have the Mattel DC Universe Classics Atom and Wesley Dodds Sandman. Finally though, as is tradition, here's the Mcfarlane Collector Edition Hawkgirl with Hit Monkey and Goliath. Well, now that we've gone through the comparisons, the next question is, what accessories does this Hawkgirl come with? Well, she comes with the standard DC Multiverse figure stand and trading card, although they do have a lot more silver foil since it's a collector edition. On the back right here, you can read the bio for this version of Hawkgirl. Pause here if you want to read it. But hey, in terms of actual accessories, Hawkgirl of course comes with the most important accessory for any Hawkgirl or Hawkman figure, their trusty mace, and it's done pretty well. I like the metallic paint they use for the actual mace section, and the wrappings on the handle are pretty nicely done. I also like how the studs on the actual mace match her little gauntlet right here. It also fits fairly well in her accessory holding hands, although I will warn, the handle of this mace will probably get warped and bent over time. That's just kind of how it is with all Mcfarlane accessories like this. In terms of alternate hands, though, she comes with a pair of fists for when Hawkgirl decides that bashing someone's head in with a mace isn't enough, she has to use her bare hands. She's also got a pair of accessory holding hands for when she's feeling a bit ambidextrous with her mace. And she's also got this pair of open gestury hands, which are pretty useful for a flying character like Hawkgirl. Alright, now looking at all those accessories was pretty fun. So now it's time to move on to the part that isn't fun, the price. Now, this Hawkgirl, just like all other collector edition figures, retailed for about between $30 to $35, which I'd say is more than worth it considering all the new pieces and accessories you get. Unfortunately, a lot of people agreed, so she was nearly impossible to find for a good while. So you might have had to resort to eBay to get this Hawkgirl, where if you're trying to get this figure in box, she could cost you upwards of $50, which I'd say is pretty ridiculous. Luckily, I actually managed to grab her thanks to a restock on the Mcfarlane Toy Store for her retail price of $35, which I am more than happy about. Alright, now, what are my overall thoughts on this Hawkgirl? Well, to say the least, she is absolutely spectacular. I think the new paint job and all the extra sculpt work is spectacular, especially on the new head and helmet. The articulation, minus the hunch forward, is absolutely stunning. I mean, especially the range on the shoulders, and that's not even mentioning the accessories and the amazing wings, which are also pretty dang articulated. Now, I will say, she was very difficult to find in stores, but once I was able to get her on the Mcfarlane Toy Store, well, I was pretty dang satisfied. Now, this figure isn't without its flaws, mainly the fact that both the Platinum Edition and the regular edition have their downsides, what with the extra sculpting that favors either one or the other, but not both. But still, even with that, I don't really have a problem with this figure. So overall, I'm going to give the Mcfarlane Collector Edition Hawkgirl a 10 out of 10. So yeah, that was a pretty nice pick-me-up after the slightly more negative No Man's Land Batman review. I did last time. So hey, if you've made it this far in the video, well, first of all, thank you very much. Second of all, what are your thoughts on this Hawkgirl? Do you love this figure as much as I do, or do you think it's painfully overrated? If you feel like it, write that down in the comments below. But, like I said, if you've made it here, have a great day, 'cause you deserve it. Bye-bye!